Hi, Swiss Bohemian talking here. It has been a while since I last updated my channel, so today I'm catching up with presenting you my manga collection in English. What you see here are many manga in Japanese and also French, but I also have a small but decent collection of manga in English, so that's what I'm going to present to you now. Let's go here to the first section. These are all manga by 7 Seas and it goes up until here. These are so newer series. My Wife Has No Emotion. I'm up to volume 3. I'm not sure if volume 4 is out already in English. This is a great romance science fiction series. I highly recommend this one. Then my current rom-com favorite, The Dangers in My Heart, which will turn into an anime starting in April. It's really a great rom-com. Even though we are adults, I'm still at volume 2 or 3 I think, so I have still 2 more volumes to catch up. Young Ladies Don't Play Fighting Games. This is also a great fun series. The Sheeply Horned Witch Romy. This has a very peculiar art style which I love a lot. It's just different from what you usually get in manga. It has an interesting story. And I think in Japan volume 2 recently came out, so it also should come out soon in English. I Can't Believe I Slept With You. This is finished with volume 3. I've read all 3 of them. This is a cute Yuri series. 2.5 Dimensional Seduction. I'm around volume 1 or 2. I haven't read volume 3 for sure yet. Crisis Girls volume 1 and 2. I picked that one up a year ago for a good price, but I haven't read it yet. Nameless Asterism. The art style is great, what I've seen so far. Harukana Receive until volume 5. I don't think this is finished yet here. This one was an anime, so I first saw a couple of episodes of the anime. And this is just a sexy sports series about volleyball, beach volley to be precise. The Days of Love at Seagull Villa, volume 1 and 2. I'm not sure if it's finished with volume 2. Lovely Dovey Wife is a Stone Cold Killer, volume 1 and 2. This one I'm not sure if I should continue to buy because I was rather left unimpressed with this one. Kageki Shoujo, however, I will continue to buy, but not in English. I have the first volume of the continuation in French. Goodbye My Rose Garden. This is a Yuri series, if I remember correctly. Boy Meets Maria, that's a one-shot by an artist which passed away, an artist called Peyo. It's a boys' love story, it was a really good one. Not Lives, this one I picked up I think in France. I wasn't impressed with this one, not sure if I should continue to buy it. The Voynich Hotel, however, by Doman Seiman. This one I should continue to buy because this is just a really interesting artist with many crazy ideas. The Girl from the Other Side, volume 1 and 2. This has also a very interesting art style, and I've seen also the movie. Slumbering Beauty, volume 1 and 2. I don't think I have finished reading volume 2 yet by Yumi Unita. This is a Josei series, an interesting one. Kumamiko, Girl Meets Bear. I've picked that one up 2 years or 3 years ago, secondhand. I remember having seen the anime, which was interesting, but a very disappointing ending. Ran and the Grey World by Aki Irie. I have already some manga by Aki Irie in French. She's a very skilled artist. Are these short stories? Can't remember anymore. Then Boys Run the Riot. That is also an interesting series about fashion and about issues with gender. It's also out now in German, and I'm pretty sure it's out in French and also in Spanish and other languages. These here are older Yuri series. I picked them up 15 years ago. First Love Sisters, volume 1. The Last Uniform, volume 1 and 2. This manga here is called Translucent, and this is a great romance series. I would say it's a romance drama series about a girl who has a disease. When she's very anxious and stressed, she turns invisible, and the whole concept, the whole drawings are great because the artist really tries his best to show the problems when someone gets translucent. The girl, because she's starting to get translucent, is in danger to be run over by a isekai truck. You can actually see through her because she's translucent. It's a really great manga, but I don't know if all 5 volumes have been released in English. I picked those up at least 14-15 years ago, and then in Japan because not all the English volumes were out yet, so volume 4 and 5 are in Japanese. Strawberry Fields once again, don't really remember this one, this is a Yuri series I think. Dear Norman volume 1, fantasy series with a dash of Yuri. Then one of my latest additions is Avant-Garde Yumeko by Shuzo Oshimi. This one is one of his earlier works, and that's a one-shot. It's okay, but it's not as good as some of his later series. Then Our Teachers Are Dating, volume 1 and 2. That again is a Yuri series, but this time with adults instead of like high schoolers. You probably already saw it, but here I have my Junji Ito collection. Some of them are in German and French, but most are in English. They're all great. I've talked about them in my channel already. My latest edition is Black Paradox. I think I'm not quite finished with this one yet. I prefer the older ones. These ones here, Smash, Shiver and Deserter, these are really great. The Pushman and Other Stories, so manga by Yoshihiro Tatsumi. Those one I picked up last year, and I have told about that in one of my videos. Very serious manga for adult readers. This is also a very recent edition, Red Flowers by Yoshiharu Tsuge. I've started to read it. The first 2 chapters are quite interesting, a little bit on the macabre side, with some peasants making fun of a dead corpse in a grandmother's house. That was a rather bizarre but interesting story. Frieren volume 1 to 4, great fantasy series. Welcome to NHK volume 1 and 2. Our Not So Lovely Planet Travel Guide, haven't read this one yet. Days on Fest, this one was rather boring. Don't know if I will continue to buy this one. Hitohira, and this one is also an older manga based on an anime I saw at least 10 years ago. This one I liked back then, but I haven't read it for many years. Trainman is great. Trainman was almost 20 years ago a big phenomenon in Japan, based on an online story, a romance online story. There is a seinen version, a 2-3 seinen version of the story, and this is the shoujo version of Trainman. Volumes 1 and 2 of Flowers of Evil, those I also picked up secondhand in Switzerland. Kiruru Kill Me, just volume 1, because I think the first 2 volumes I have in French. And for some reason I found this one, Iron Fist Chimney. I think I even picked it up in the late 90s. The size is different from today's typical manga sizes. It's smaller. It was published by Bloomsbury. It's a UK release, so a manga published in the UK, not in the States, which is also rather unusual. Fujoshi Rumi, this is also manga I got in the late 2000s, and High School Girls as well. This one here was also a fun gag manga with an otaku girl, well, a Fujoshi girl. Let's move over here. Here I have some of my oldest manga in English. And actually, the oldest one I ever got, and also my very first manga, is Yoji Manabe's Outlanders. It's a fantastic science fiction, action, rom-com, a crazy mix. Yeah, I remember I got that one in Switzerland, and it was expensive for me. I was in junior high school when I got this one, and I even brought it to school, and my homeroom teacher, he asked me if he could have a look into it. He opened the double page, and there's the heroine, Calm, she's beheading a soldier. And my homeroom teacher's reaction was quite interesting, to say the least. Then I also got volume 2 a bit later, Sex Bombs by Hiroyuki Utatane. It's not for the faint-hearted, especially not when I wasn't really used to these kind of manga. I found this one here. This is written in Japanese, but actually it's a manga in English. It's about the Japanese economy. It's drawn by a famous manga artist, Shotaro Ishinomori. Actually, the content isn't up to date anymore, because this is based on the Japanese economy of the 1980s, when the States were struggling, but Japan was really making big economic progress. But that was before the big bubble burst, right? The Collected Silbuster by Iko Sahara, and I'm not quite sure if this was a regular manga release in Japan or if this was just a collection of doujinshi. The first 7 volumes of Death Note, And that was my first contact with Death Note. It was after the craze started. I got all those 7 volumes for a good price. I started reading them and I was actually quite fascinated. It was quite interesting, but somehow I lost around here. I lost just the incentive to continue reading it. Original Nausicaä of the Valley of the Wind release by Wiss. These were really expensive back in Switzerland. I think $30 a piece. The first volume of Gunsmith Cats, Bonnie and Clyde. This was also a release of the mid to late 90s. And I didn't continue to buy Gunsmith Cats in English because I already had all volumes in Japanese in the late 90s. I came across a volume of Adolf by Osamu Tezuka, the half-Aryan, and there's a problem, there's no numbers, so I was a bit confused when I started to read this manga here, this volume. I didn't really realize that it's not actually the first volume, it just was in the middle of the story. The Maiden Railways, this one I got I think 2 years ago. This is an interesting short story collection, the first volume of Azumanga Daioh. These are the big releases here of Seven Seas, and I got some of Yen Press, some of Viz, all then Viz Pulp. Then these are Kodansha releases, again Seven Seas, and this is again Kodansha. The first 2 volumes of my solo exchange diary. This is a great autobiographical manga. I like it. I know some people don't really like the misery she's portraying, but I think it's very interesting. Monologue Woven for You, I haven't read this one yet. The Conditions of Paradise, I haven't read this one yet as well. I think I realized this is not the first volume. This should be like volume 2 or 3. Pompo the Cinephile, I've seen the movie. I like the movie. The manga is also interesting. A Manga Diary of a Male Porn Star, this one is really fun. Creepy Cat, this one is also interesting, in full color. Sadako-san and Sadako-chan. And then Sadako of the End of the World, these 2 are also quite interesting. Slice of life, comedy, tragedy, it's a bit difficult to explain. Manga all about Sadako. I think this one is more tragic. I haven't read this one yet. This is the splendid work of a monster maid. The art looks interesting. The Girl Without the Face, that is interesting. This is a really interesting slice of life manga with a dash of the supernatural. Hana-chan and the Shape of the World, this one is also quite interesting. I really like the art style in this one. It's completely different from what you usually get in manga. Come The Mirror and Other Tales by Rumiko Takahashi. This one I have not read yet, but of course I have read Urusei Yatsura, also by Rumiko Takahashi. These also belong to some of the oldest manga I got. I got them also around 1991-92. I was still in junior high school when I got those. Fire Tripper, Laughing Target, Marise Shoujo. Yeah, these are all manga which then turn into great OAVs. Then Maison Ikkoku, this is probably the best romance manga which has ever been drawn and told. I got all in Japanese, that's why I don't have all the English volumes. Dance Till Tomorrow, volume 1 to volume 5 by Naoki Yamamoto. Naoki Yamamoto is an important artist in Japan. He was one of the pioneers of erotica manga, which then was accepted by the big public, and this one came out I think in the mid to late 90s in the States. He's still active, Naoki Yamamoto. He has been active since at least the mid 1980s. When Will Ayumu Make His Move, volume 1 to volume 6, I got those in Japanese. Then My Senpai is Annoying, volume 1 to volume 8. This is a shonen rom-com. This is I think a seinen rom-com, also a web manga originally. Then Sweetness and Lightning. This is an interesting slice of life manga with lots of cooking. That was my collection in English. I hope you liked it so far. As you can tell, I don't have so many manga in English. I hope my collection is good enough. What do you think of my collection in English? Let me know in the comments down below. So the next video I'm going to shoot, I'm not sure yet. I still want to shoot a video about my collection in Japanese and also in French, but those collections are just huge. It would take a long time to shoot it. But well, let's see. Thanks for watching until the end and see you next time. Goodbye.